And there came a time known as the third millennium, a time when the people of the earth were ravaged by disease, pestilence, and poisons. A time when the horsemen of the apocalypse ran the multinational corporations. A time when America's citizens were waking up to a future of no money and no jobs. A time when a special man came forward, a man that your American taskmasters did not want you to see or hear, a man whom they took prisoner and hid away, a man whose name is Yahweh ben Yahweh. For telling people the truth, Yahweh ben Yahweh was taken prisoner by the minions of darkness. For giving people hope, Yahweh ben Yahweh was led away to Golgotha. This is the continuing story of the past and of the future, about good and about evil, about your life and what it will become. A story that tells why the so-called black man of America had to suffer for over 400 years. A story of what will happen to the so-called black man if he returns to the laws, statutes, judgments, and commandments of God, Yahweh. Olam shall Yahweh. The universe of Yahweh. Brought to you by the nation of Yahweh, working for you and your future.
Good or evil, life or death. This is your choice in this, the year 6002, the year of judgment. Shalom and welcome to the universe of Yahweh. My name is Josiah Israel and I am your host. For over 7 years now, we have been discussing some of the things the Bible said would occur in the day of judgment. We warned you that the weather was going to change and that the powerful forces of nature were going to bring terrible destruction upon America and the world, and that it was going to get worse and worse and worse, and it has. We alerted you that violence in the public schools was going to increase, and it has. We showed you in the scriptures that forewarned of wickedness in high places, and we are witnessing today gross misconduct and serious crimes being committed by some of our highest elected officials. What lies ahead for America and the world is nothing less than the proliferation of deadly diseases and plagues as foretold in the Bible. But there is hope. The Bible tells us that at the end the Messiah would be revealed, and at that time he would save the righteous from this impending destruction. That one, the Messiah, is Yahweh ben Yahweh. So we invite you to join us in the universe of Yahweh, featuring the commandments of Yahweh and the Messiah revealed. First, the commandments of Yahweh.
For 6,000 years, we have been suffering at the hands of rulers who transgress the laws of Yahweh and teach all people throughout the earth to transgress the laws of Yahweh. In order to have peace, love, and harmony upon the earth, we must return to keeping the commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes of Yahweh. All of us have been taught that the commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes in the Old Testament Bible do not count today. In this series, we will show you that the commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes in the Old Testament Bible do count, and that if we govern our lives according to these commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes of God Yahweh, then we will have peace and goodwill upon the earth forever. We invite you to study along with us. However, In order to do so, you must have the following tools: a King James Version of the Bible, several dictionaries, the New Strong's Exhaustive Concordance, a set of encyclopedias, Hebrew and Greek lexicons, a thesaurus, and a synonym finder.
Shalom, my name is Ben Kayu Bethel Yisrael. We are discussing the commandments of Yahweh. More specifically, we are discussing the second commandment that Yahweh gave to Adam, which was to keep the Garden of Eden. Last week, we reviewed the meaning of the Garden of Eden from the facts we shared with you in the beginning of this series. We documented that the Garden of Eden, by definition, means paradise. Paradise was defined as a place or a state in which the souls of the righteous, after death, enjoy eternal bliss. State was defined as condition of mind. Paradise was also defined as heaven, and heaven was described as a state of thought in which sin is absent and the harmony of divine mind is manifest. From these facts, we asserted that the Garden of Eden is a place or a condition of mind in which the souls of the righteous, after they are no longer spiritually dead, enjoy eternal bliss. In other words, the Garden of Eden is when our minds are absent from transgressing the laws of Yahweh that are written in the Holy Bible. We explained that when our minds are in harmony with the divine mind of Yahweh, then our place of abode will be eternally blissful, meaning heaven on earth. The first commandment that Yahweh gave to Adam was to dress the Garden of Eden. Today, we are going to shed light on the second task that Yahweh commanded Adam to do, which was to keep the Garden of Eden in a heavenly state. According to the New Strong's Exhaustive Concordance, copyright 1990, in the Hebrew and Chaldee Dictionary, page 118, number 8104, the word keep in Hebrew is spelled from right to left, Shin Mem Resh, pronounced Shamar. On the authority of Webster's Ninth New Collegiate Dictionary, copyright 1989, on page 658, keep means to take notice of by appropriate conduct. In order to get a clear understanding of this definition, let us examine it carefully. Documented in the synonym finder by J.I. Rodale, copyright 1978, on page 789, notice suggests to pay attention to, listen to, give ear to, observe, consider, and take heed of. Ear means hearing. Hearing means to receive communication, and to receive means to take into the mind. Therefore, in order for Adam to keep the Garden of Eden in a heavenly state, Yahweh commanded Adam to pay close attention to, listen to, and take into his mind only the words of Yahweh. To support these facts, let us read Proverbs chapter 4, verse 4, which reads in part, "Let thine heart retain my words. Keep my commandments and live." Adam was commanded to retain the words of Yahweh in his heart. To retain the words of Yahweh in his heart means to continue to use, practice, and remember the words of Yahweh. It also means to have a deep, compassionate love for retaining the words of Yahweh in his heart and in his mind. He was also given the task to observe, consider, and take heed of the commandments of Yahweh, and to live by the appropriate conduct. Appropriate is synonymous to proper. The Random House College Dictionary, Revised Edition, copyright 1988, on page 1061, defines proper as conforming to established standards of behavior or manners. Referenced in Webster's Ninth New Collegiate Dictionary on page 274, conduct is defined as a standard of personal behavior, especially as based on moral principles. Principle is equivalent to law, ordinance, and commandment. The laws, ordinances, and commandments of Yahweh are the established standards by which we must govern our personal behavior and manners. These moral principles are written in the Holy Bible. We maintain from these facts that in order for Adam to keep the Garden of Eden in a heavenly state, Adam was commanded to take full notice of the voice of Yahweh and retain his words. In addition, Adam was commanded to govern his personal behavior and manners by the moral laws, ordinances, and commandments of Yahweh. As the seed of Adam, we are, in like manner, commanded to walk in the ways of Yahweh and to keep his commandments, which is verified in Deuteronomy chapter 10, verses 12, 13, and 15, which reads, "And now, Israel, what doth Yahweh thy God require of thee, but to fear Yahweh thy God, to walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve Yahweh thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul, to keep the commandments of Yahweh and his statutes, which I command thee this day for thy good? Only Yahweh had a delight in thy fathers to love them, and he chose their seed after them, even you above all people, as it is this day." To keep the Garden of Eden in a heavenly state, Adam was commanded to take full notice of the voice of Yahweh, retain his words, and govern his personal behavior by the moral laws, ordinances, and commandments of Yahweh. This required Adam, his seed, and all the people of the earth to fear Yahweh, to walk in all his ways, to love Yahweh, and to serve him with all our heart, mind, and soul, as it is this day. Next week, we shall continue our discussion of the second commandment that Yahweh gave to Adam, which was to keep the Garden of Eden. I bear witness to you today that the Messiah, Yahweh ben Yahweh, is here.
I bear witness to you today that the Mahdi is here.
I bear witness to you today that Shiloh is here.
I bear witness to you today that the great light is here.
I bear witness to you today that the Grand Master of the Celestial Lodge, Architect of the universe, is here.
I bear witness to you today that the Enlightened One is here.
I bear witness to you today that the one all religions have been speaking of for almost 6,000 years is here.
Thank you for listening, and join us next week as we continue our discussion of the commandments of Yahweh.
Most people are not aware of the fact that America is in the Bible. She is cryptically called Babylon, Revelation 18:2. In 1986, Yahweh, Ben Yahweh, sent the president, vice president, his cabinet, every senator, and congressman the book Yahweh Judges America, which warned them of the inevitable destruction of America. This book explains all that the prophets said would come upon America in the day of judgment. You can now read what Yahweh Ben Yahweh told the government over 10 years ago. To get a copy of Yahweh Judges America, call the number on your screen today.
Shalom. Welcome to Exodus, Release Our God to Us. It was prophesied that when the Son of Man appears, there will be wars and rumors of wars, pestilence and disease, a time of great and terrible natural disasters. This is Judgment Day, and Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh is plaguing and judging this world. His judgment is more severe in America because a few people in high places have judicially murdered Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, Beit Nun Sofit Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, and are holding him in prison for crimes he did not commit. America is known as the world's largest producer of wheat. At one time, the breadbasket of America fed the world, but today it is reported that we have, at best, a 30-day reserve supply of food, the lowest inventory since World War II. Wheat is the world's most important staple grain. Today, all over the world, wheat production is dropping and surpluses are dwindling rapidly due to dry weather and new plant diseases. It was reported in Business Week that, incredible as it seems, the fungus that caused the Irish potato famine 150 years ago has returned, and it is ravaging America's potatoes. Famine in America, is it possible? It once happened over all the face of the earth. Let's read Genesis chapter 41, verse 56. And famine was over the face of the earth, and Joseph opened all the storehouses, and sold unto the Egyptians, and the famine waxed sore in the land of Egypt. Who caused for famine? The answer is in Psalms chapter 105, verse 16, and it states, Moreover, he, Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, called for a famine upon the land. He broke the whole staff of bread. Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh gave warning in Psalm 105, verse 8, not to touch or hinder his anointed. His anointed is Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, Beit Nun Sofit Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh. He was touched, and his divine mission hindered. Therefore, Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh has called for a famine in this land. Are we headed toward famine? Is it a path that we have to take? Of course it's not. And Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, Beit Nun Sofit Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, holds the key. However, until the release of Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, Beit Nun Sofit Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, this divine plague of famine shall get worse. And the present course of natural disasters going on worldwide shall continue to get worse and worse and worse. Shalom, and we'll see you next week on Exodus, Release Our God to Us.
is worthy? Who is worthy to open the book? Who is worthy to open the book and loose the seals thereof?
And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. At the end of time of evil rule, the Anointed One, the Messiah, shall appear. In 1979, Yahweh Ben Yahweh came to Miami and became the spiritual leader and founder of the Nation of Yahweh. Although he took a vow of poverty, in 7 years he guided the nation to amass a $250 million empire. Under his direction, the Nation of Yahweh has grown to encompass disciples, followers, and supporters in over 1,300 cities within the U.S. and 16 foreign countries. Yahweh Ben Yahweh is bringing about changes in the lives of individuals and is giving the world the keys to success in life, politically, economically, educationally, socially, and spiritually.
Yahweh prophesied unto our forefather Abraham that this would happen to us. And he said unto Abraham, Know of a surety that your seed, Abraham, the lost sheep of the house of Israel, shall be a stranger, a barbarian, and undesirable, and unwanted, in a land, America, that is not theirs, and they shall serve their slave masters. And their slave masters shall afflict, oppress, harass, and persecute them for 400 years. And also that nation, America, whom they shall serve, will I, Yahweh, judge. And afterwards shall they, your seed Abraham, come out with great substance. Genesis chapter 15, verses 13 and 14. In spite of the fact that we have transgressed the commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes of Yahweh, Yahweh still loves the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But Judah shall yet rule with Yahweh Ben Yahweh, and be faithful with the saints. Hosea chapter 11, verse 12. Even more, Judah, the so-called black man of America, shall dwell forever, and Jerusalem from generation to generation. Joel chapter 3, verse 20.
Yahweh Ben Yahweh shall save Judah first, that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah. Zechariah chapter 12, verse 7. Yahweh Ben Yahweh, the Messiah, is prophesied to do this great work. The birth of Yahweh Ben Yahweh is mysterious. However, Yahweh himself has given us a sign. Behold, a virgin, the lost sheep of the house of Israel, would be unaware, unconscious, unknowing, ignorant, in the dark, uninformed, unenlightened, and uninitiated. And they shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Yahweh Ben Yahweh. Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14.
Remember that this is the morning of the third day, and I shall rise again. I am the resurrection. All of prophecy tells you that I shall rise again. It's all about that. Luke chapter 2, verse 34. No doubt about it. Again, I love you forever, bless you forever. I remind you once again, my associates are children of the light. That just brings laughter to my heart, to my soul, to realize that at last I have those of you that love peace. And I only want to be in the presence of those of you that love peace. I love you forever. Shalom Aleichem.
Here we have specific information concerning the Messiah, Yahweh ben Yahweh, and the people to whom he was prophesied to come, the seed of Abraham. Without a doubt, Yahweh ben Yahweh is indeed the Messiah. And we, the so-called black man of America, are Judah, the lost tribe of the house of Israel. As prophesied, we have been suffering for over 400 years in a land, America, that is not our own. But today, we are being redeemed by the one that has been promised to come, Yahweh ben Yahweh. The scepter, all power and authority, has been given unto Yahweh ben Yahweh, for he is Shiloh, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be. Thank you for joining us in the universe of Yahweh. And now we'd like to invite all of you to pray with us as we turn to the east with outstretched hands and say a prayer to our Heavenly Father, Yahweh. The Lord's Prayer in Hebrew. Come, let us pray. Tefillah, Avenu Shabashamayim, Yikar Shemeaka, Tavo Malkuteaka, Yase Razonka, Kivashamayim Kain Baaretz, Et Lekum Kukenu, Tain La Nuhayom, Uslak Lanu, All Kati Enu, Kimosha Sol King, Gamanaknu, La Koteom Lanu, Veal Tefienu, Lade Nisayom, Kim Kal Senu, Min Hara, Kilaka, Hamumlaha, Veha Givera, Veha Tiferes, Leolame, Olamin Sila. We thank thee, O Yahweh, O living and eternal King, who has so mercifully restored our souls within us. Selah. Praise Yahweh, and to always remember that the Father, Yahweh, and his Son, Yahweh ben Yahweh, love you, and your host loves you too. Shalom Aleichem.
To order the companion book to the series, The Messiah Revealed, call 1-800-967-PEACE. That's 1-800-967-7337. And when you call, ask about the special discount on Yahweh ben Yahweh, the Lamb of Yahweh. Videos of this program are available. When ordering, please refer to the program number on the screen.
You can now access the divine mind of Yahweh ben Yahweh on the internet at the address on the screen.